So Valve officially did it. They finally did it. They launched the Steam machine in the year of our Lord 2026. The year of the Linux is here. Well, maybe not quite yet. But yeah, and June 2022, June 22nd, 2026, which was yesterday as the day of me recording this, Valve officially announced the pricing and opened up reservations for the Steam machine. And it came with some bittersweet news, quite honestly. Obviously, this was a thing that I was looking forward to the moment they announced it. But then it felt like as the months went by, one month after another, it felt like the hype slowly started dying and going down, down, down because of the recent announcement, or not the recent announcement, but the current market conditions of the RAM crisis that's going on and the storage, the shortage that is happening. And as the time went on, it just like, man, I don't know if this thing's going to be worth the price. I mean, originally, I will say my predictions was about 600, 650. That's what I was hoping for. If it was 600, it was like an instant buy for me. But then also looking at the prices, and this is where I did start to get a little bit of a worry, was about the Linus Tech Tips video where he mentioned that like, hey, you're gonna sell this for 500 bucks, right? 600 bucks, and then they got silent in the room, and it was like, oh man, like they're not looking at this at all to be that price point. And I was like, man, I was a little disappointed in the performance. I was willing to look past it if it was at a certain price. But then as time went on and like things started getting crazier and crazier and they were releasing their announcements of like, hey, like this is not looking too high. And then obviously like getting pushed into the summer instead of the first half, which is funny because they said the first half of 2026 and they're literally waiting to the very last day. It's going to be released on June 30th. And then the week prior, they're like, hey, here's the price. And that price is for the base model $1,049. So if you want that with a controller, it's going to be $1,128. And then for the 2 terabyte version, it's going to be $1,349. And then if you want a controller with that, it's going to be $1,428. And man, it's going to come with two faceplates, so that's a benefit. But pretty much if you were to get that version, which might be the most popular version, you're talking about $1,500 for a console that can't perform as well as a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, which is a tough pill to swallow. And I get that, yes, it has the capabilities of a PC, it runs Linux, you can go into the Windows mode, you can do all kinds of different things, run emulators on it and all this other stuff, but it gets to a point where it's like, that price is really hard to justify. And as much as I'd love the form factor, because I've been really looking forward to having a small form factor PC. I want something that I can fit very easily right here in the corner of my desk. And I was like, the Steam machine is absolutely perfect for that. But it's just too much now, and I can't justify spending that much money on that. And it's a shame because obviously this is kind of out of Valve's hands, you know, with the AI boom and everything happening. Everybody's really struggling if you're a manufacturer, especially for Valve, where you're not a big dog like Microsoft, like a Sony, like a Nintendo, not even a Microsoft nowadays, but like a Nintendo and a Sony. It's or even an Apple. It's hard for them to be like, hey, like we want to produce 150,000 units or something like that, and they're like, yeah, but sorry, like you're not going to get these same deals, that you don't have the advantages of economy of scale, so we just can't do that for you. So now it's resulting into this being at this price. But then it kind of begs the question, at what point do you just build a custom PC? And I get that some people are like, oh yeah, just build a PC. But like, look, man, not everybody has the capabilities to do that. I can build a PC. My PC here is built. I'm not pre-built. I built it myself. But then also there's pre-builts out there to bring it up to that point that kind of compete with this price range. I think where Valve would have had a really good price point was like if they got into that 700 range, even like you're talking about, you're really competing in that pre-built space. And now I don't know if they can necessarily do that anymore. And they even said themselves in a recent post that like, hey, they're not happy about the price either, but it's reflecting the skyrocketing costs of securing SSDs and RAMs over the last 6 months due to the demand of data centers. So it's really tough and it's a shame to see, because like I said, it sucks for the people who would have really loved to have this, because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to use this as a main PC. I probably would have, because I like to kind of bounce around different things and I don't need anything super powerful. I don't stream or anything like that. I kind of clip my gameplay clips where I need, And so I just want to be able to play games in a smooth frame rate and kind of have an easy to use interface. And I thought the Steam Machine was perfect for that, but now they're not. Now, with that being said, they have announced that basically they're going to open up the reservation system starting yesterday, and it is going to be ending the reservation on June 25th. So you have up until June 25th to actually reserve those. And then with the idea that they're going to start shipping June 29th, or you're going to start getting your invites to purchase on June 29th. And then from there, start shipping out units, I believe June 30th. And the good thing is they're doing a lot of measures to prevent scalpers and whatnot, showing that like, hey, you have to show that you have a purchase history of April 27th or prior of a Steam game. And yeah, because obviously like with the way that 2020 went with the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch, the past like 8 years, it's been a nightmare trying to deal with automated bots and scalpers. So the reservation system is, while it's a lottery and it's kind of up in the air if you can actually get one, since especially the way that the amount that they've probably manufactured, it's not like a Nintendo Switch where it was like they had a ton of it, but even then they had to prove that, hey, you are a loyal customer, you're going to be the first ones in line. So I like how that's starting to become like a thing going forward. And hopefully like with the whenever the new future consoles that come out, the next Xbox and then PlayStation 6, that they implement something like this to make it a little bit more smooth and seamless. Now to talk a little bit about under the hood and what we've seen so far. Obviously I don't have my hands on a Steam machine like I broke down, but there's a lot of YouTube videos that have completely broken down, like get benchmarks, kind of breaking down the specs, what it's like on running on different games, the different resolutions, and it's been really cool and interesting to see. And then comparing those against like the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, similar PCs in that price range, similar graphics cards in that price range. And from what we can see, this machine is clearly not a 4K monster. Not every game's going to be able to run it. Sure, your lower end games, your older games, your AA games can probably run those just fine. But anything that's AAA or very demanding, it looks like this is going to be a 1440p machine. That's going to be kind of the sweet spot, where a lot of these games are going to be running at 1440p high settings and you're getting about 60 FPS. And you can kind of maybe play around with 4K if you get down to performance, ultra performance, but it gets to a point where you're kind of getting diminishing returns, where you're going down so low where the quality kind of looks like crap. Even upscaling can't do it. I mean, obviously with the improvements of FSR 4, that's going to make those things even better, but we're not there yet, so it just doesn't necessarily look great. Where honestly it seems like the best thing to do if you have one of these machines and what it's going to be best at is going to be at that 1440p or maybe even a 1080p, and then maybe just let your TV upscale it or your monitor upscale it. That seems to be the best bet. Obviously, it has every advantage going forward with SteamOS. SteamOS and the changes that they have done has just been absolutely impressive with the updates that have been rolling out and just really trying to squeeze as much juice as they possibly can out of this machine and the specs that it has. And I can speak for it firsthand with the Steam Deck, utilizing SteamOS every single day because I use my Steam Deck religiously. And the improvements that has been made over the years has just been absolutely incredible. It truly is a seamless experience to where it honestly, most of the time, it doesn't even feel like you're playing a PC version of a game. Every now and then you have to tweak settings, but I anticipate throughout the Steam Machine's life cycle, we're going to kind of see something similar to that. And now that's one thing we have to take into account as we see these benchmarks and things roll out, is I think we want to see what is the Steam Machine going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, because with the AI crisis and the RAM shortage and the SSD shortages, and a lot of big developer studios, if we look at Larian, for example, is the creators of Baldur's Gate, they kind of said like, hey, look, we need to kind of scale down and tone down the type of games that we're making that can actually run on the everyday person's hardware. And I think the Steam Machine is going to be a great benchmark for some of these studios to follow, because having that Steam Machine verified badge is going to be a big deal, and it's going to prove that like, hey, most computers can probably run on this machine. And I think it's also a good barometer for developers to be like, hey, now we have a benchmark we want to follow. This is what we want to hit. This is what 70% of PCs are on the Steam library run. And if you want to reach as many people as possible, you have to make it available to as many people as possible. And I do think that's where the Steam Machine is really going to shine. Maybe not so much right now, but at least it will provide some sort of quality badge that developers can follow. And it really feels like we're starting to hit this area where it's kind of the battle for the living room, right? So obviously with the new Xbox and the recent Xbox video that I just made with the reset that they're doing and everything regarding around Project Helix, this seems to be a direct competitor to that. And that's where I kind of wonder how Steam Machine is going to look like down the road. Well, like how much legs will it have as we progress throughout the years? Now, quite honestly, I think it might have more than people anticipate, because if we look at this current generation, what happened, we're just now hitting a point where pretty much over the last 6 months to the last year, we're finally dropping the previous gen consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One. Those consoles that came out in 2014, 12 years ago, and we're finally stopped making games for this. The Steam Machine, while people downplay on its capabilities and what it can do, let's not pretend that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and even maybe the Xbox Series S is not going to keep on getting games for the next potential 5 years, especially with the way that the economy is going and the way that the grand price is going. Prices aren't going down. People aren't purchasing gaming hardware as much as they were. That means game developers are going to have to chill out a little bit, and hopefully with the improvements of UE6 and what that's going to bring, and potential AI improvements in terms of like FSR upscaling and frame generation, I do think it's not necessarily end of the road for Steam Machine. Now, the tough part is just that beginning entry level, and maybe down the road they lower the prices if things finally chill out. But I do think it may last longer than people anticipate. And if we look at the Steam Machine maybe 2 years from today, it could end up being a pretty good deal. Maybe they're able to get the parts for cheaper. Maybe we see that the library has now been optimized better to meet the needs of this machine, and I think in the long run it's going to be good for everybody. And I think it hit a point for Valve where it's like, okay, it may not be a smashing success from the jump, or we're going to wait it out for the long game and see how things play out and see how things go. Because at the end of the day, the one thing that they does have is that people are going to continue to make games for it, because at the end of the day, you want games to run on Steam. And I do think Valve is not alone in all this. And I don't think a lot of people are going to be rushing out to go play PS6 or play the new Xbox, Project Helix, whatever that might be, because they're fine with their systems, and we're just now getting games that are actually fully taking advantage of that. So I do think we're at a point now where it felt like the hardware was getting so advanced and the software was kind of behind, and now it's kind of vice versa, where the software is getting more advanced, getting more complicated, getting more polygons are being rendered, to where the hardware can't catch up anymore because people just can't afford it, and the prices are just completely out of whack. And where will this compete against the pre-built is just the ability of SteamOS. I think SteamOS is a bigger seller than people might guess, and obviously, sure, you can put SteamOS on a pre-built, but it's something about having native hardware and running things on first-party hardware is just better sometimes. I don't know if you've ever used anything that used a software, but you're using a third-party manufacturer to run that. It's when you have native systems that work together, it's something about it will just always be smoother, and you always just kind of want to support the endeavors that Valve are having, honestly, because if they can succeed in this space, it can force Microsoft to be better and produce a better Windows and a better Xbox. With all that being said, what is your thoughts on the Steam Machine from what you see? What is kind of the long-term vision you see from them? Overall, I think that this thing's going to struggle probably for the first year, maybe 2, but I do think down the road it may be a good deal, and it does offer a lot. At the end of the day, it is a machine that's running Linux. It's a full-blown computer, and I think it could potentially have legs as we enter the next future generations, because we're still going to be making games for them, and there's still going to be a ton of indie games. And so I don't think it's necessarily end of the road. I don't know if it's necessarily dead on arrival, but I do think it's going to be slow on arrival for sure. It's going to be running a little late, I'm not going to lie to you. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos just like this, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.